Howdy. Hello, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as P-Dog Night on the internet. Welcome back to the P-Dog Night channel on this hump day, the 9th of October, 2024. I, your gracious host and humble host, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm happy that you're here. A lot of people that I see a couple names I don't see this early often, and I'm glad to see them. So today we're going to get a little bit into the interview circuit that Kamala Harris is doing, and obviously we'll talk about Hurricane Milton, which is bearing down on Florida. If you're anywhere in the Southeast, just buckle up or get the hell out, whatever you got to do to be safe. And there's a bevy of other information going on. But, you know, me being the late one, I'm going to just get this thing started. I was curious, Kamala Harris going on Howard Stern, or interviewing with Howard Stern. I was thinking of some of the things that Howard Stern used to do on his show, and someone put up a meme of Kamala Harris riding the simian, whatever that thing is, that the vibrating horse thing, I guess, and that was inappropriate, and I didn't like it. It was weird, and I don't want to think about that. But what happened to I, J, K, and L? I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Maybe you're talking to somebody else. So anyway, we're going to get it going because I just don't have time to chat a whole lot today. So first in the chat today is Mr. Avocados Diablo. Gets the bell. Also, good morning to Kara Soldier. Hello. Select a boy here early today.
Yeah, boy.
Also, good morning. Lord Stanhope. And JB is here. Mrs. Hayes, yes, that is Germany in the standby. I thought I had a different one up there. I thought I had already retired the Germany standby, but yeah, that was when we were on we went on one of those river cruises. Oh my God, that was fun. I mean, and it's funny because let's just say Lady Boomer and I were below the average age of the people there, but or then again, maybe we were just the average age and don't realize how old we are. I don't know which was which, but it was a fun trip, and saw a lot of cool stuff in Germany at that time. Also, good morning to Ravon Harris. Hello, sir. And Willie won't go home is in the house. or Willie is in the house, but unmute what? I am unmute, aren't I? What are you talking about? I never listened to Stern after he left radio. Well, yeah, no, Howard Stern is... It's just funny how Howard Stern would be someone that anyone would want to be seen on, especially when you can go back and just look at his shows and just see what my intro muted again. Really? Okay, now that's so weird. All right, let me ask you something. I'm just gonna play a second of it. Let me do something. Okay, you could not hear that? Interesting. So I've been playing with these settings, so I was trying to get rid of the echo on the outro, which I think I've successfully done, and you can hear the outro. So I tried to do the exact same thing with the intro, and for some reason you can't hear it when I do that. So I guess I won't mute the intro anymore, and I will mute the outro. I don't know, whatever. Thank you for letting me know. No intro today. Fan-freaking-tastic. Anyway, good morning to my favorite Canadian Jaeger ponies in the house. Shrapnel's here. Mr. Tire Alexander, the Scourge, is here. And there's a few others. Hit the like button right now before you forget, because it helps. Oh, Big Dave 1066 is also here. I did not mean to skip you, sir. All right, let's just get into it because there's a lot in the links today. I'm not gonna. what you call it, the trending topics. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. I think it is important to just to let you know on this hump day. Okay, it is hump day. And I always have to be careful of what I put on the screen during hump day, because you scroll far enough in the hump day topics and you're likely to get some people putting parts into other parts, and there's certainly some of that. So I'll leave the trending topic up, but I'm not going to scroll through it. So if you can decide what your tolerance is for that type of stuff. But on this hump day, I will feature a couple that are a little more tame. And so there you go. The one that you see partially on the screen. Well, there it is. Oh, well, you can't really tell. There it is for in all its glory, I guess, if you want to call that glory. Here, this is mostly just for AD, because I know he enjoys. Wait, what the hell happened there? Why isn't it? Oh, I see, because it's not fully on my screen. Is this? Hang on a second. Let me try something. Oh, that's weird. My keyboard's not working. Why is my keyboard not working? Let's see. There we go. There you go. That's for AD. But also on hump day, there is some good news. This is so stupid. This is the kind of stuff you get on hump day on X, the app formerly known as Twitter. Now, fortunately, these are all body parts that are covered, but a lot of times they're not, and sometimes they're dudes' hairy asses and balls, and I just don't like it. I don't appreciate hump day on X, the app formerly known as Twitter, but for research purposes, I did put a couple of the posts up there. And also, there's a happy hump day. Now, this is on the happy hump day one, and it's not body parts. This is good morning, happy hump day. Trump is still in a commanding lead to win. Keep up the fight and get out the vote. Now, this is this is the Poly Market forecast. This is just a betting site on who people think will win the election. It's not very scientific whatsoever. But people are betting that Donald Trump would win. Now, that could mean that there's more enthusiasm for Trump, so people are betting on Trump, or that could mean that people think Trump's going to win and they're not happy about it, but they're going to tell the truth, or they're going to think maybe Kamala Harris is just a disaster. But I don't put a lot of weight on a Poly Market forecast for the election. I just, just because people are betting on it, it doesn't really mean much. So anyway, that's also within the hump day topics. But the bigger topic, and I'm not going to talk, I don't have any birthdays to talk about today or special days. Let's talk about Florida, because it's trending it's in the trends, and I want to go through just some of the things people are saying about Florida. Now, I am not one of the people who are full on board of, crabbing on FEMA or Biden and Harris, although they're tone deaf, and I'm surprised they're not getting the same treatment George W. Bush got during Katrina, because George W. Bush had a whole lot more people on the ground way earlier than Biden Harris administration has, and FEMA has. And I don't know, could that be due to I was going to say it's due to logistics, but the logistics in New Orleans were probably worse than they are here. I mean, at least you have land. You sort of have land. Roads are taken out. I just don't know. The idea that George W. Bush had 10,000, National Guard troops, whatever, on the ground in New Orleans very early on, and they're not having this kind of mobilization for this one. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's spread over such a wide area. But here, couple tweets. This is someone named Ryan Lucero. President Trump is giving free rooms at Trump's Doral Hotel to the linemen getting ready to help the people of Florida during the hurricane. So he's opened up his hotels for those people. Congressman Byron Donalds talking about Milton shifting south towards southwest Florida. If you live in Collier County zones A or B, evacuate immediately. If you live in Lee County zones A or B, evacuate immediately. There's still time. There are 9 shelters open in Collier County. There are 14 shelters open in Lee County. So this is Byron Donalds on, I guess he was on Newsmax talking about Florida. So he's on with Greta, what is his name? Greta Sustern? I think that's right.
I was actually on the interstate earlier today. There was an ability to move out. I know going east to Miami has gotten pretty clogged up. Obviously, I don't think people are really trying to evacuate going north because they don't want to get into Charlotte County, Sarasota County, or Hillsborough County, which is where Tampa is. But there's still opportunities to get out. I was listening to Greg Stubbe. He is correct. We have shelters open in Lee County, in Collier County. If you don't have a place to go, please get to a shelter. The number one thing right now is Greta, if you're in zone A or B, you need to evacuate. You need to evacuate soon. We would prefer you do it immediately. I think the 5 o'clock advisory just came out. The track of the storm looked like it shifted just a little bit south. What that means for Fort Myers, for Collier County, Lee County, is the storm surge models have actually increased. And then one of the big things we are concerned about is when landfall occurs. If landfall for the storm happens tomorrow night into early Thursday morning, we also run the risk of dealing with high tide. So whatever you're seeing projected on the news, you need to add 2 to 3 feet of storm surge to that to account for high tide. So if you're in a barrier island, low-lying area, please evacuate.
Okay, so you're in Florida, on the west coast of Florida. GTFO right now. Find a way to get somewhere else. I'm just saying. It's going to be bad. They say it's Cat 5. Good morning, Renee Miat. How you doing? And Green Badger Outdoors, welcome. What is this? Oh, it's 3D artists at the Weather Channel deserve a raise for this insane visual. Now watch this and realize forecasts are now predicting up to 15-foot storm surge in certain areas in the western coast of Florida. Oh, this is pretty cool. Let's check this out.
So what does that look like? Well, let's show you. Imagine this. Imagine 3 feet of storm surge right here.
3 feet of storm surge.
Now, if this amount of water catches you by surprise, 15. It's too late to evacuate. Cars are floating around and floating away. There's large objects in here that could knock things down with a battering ram-like force. Now, there's no way, again, to evacuate with this kind of storm surge. But we know there's going to be places with more than 3 feet. Imagine 6 feet of storm surge. Now, this completely floods out the first floors of homes and businesses, and the only way to escape that is to move to the higher floor of a building. Now, unfortunately, there are going to be places that get more than 6 feet of storm surge flooding. Imagine this, 9 feet and even beyond of flooding, of inundation. This is practically not survivable. So please follow the advice of your local officials when they ask you to evacuate. And if you have any questions about what evacuation zone you're in, if you need to go and or where you need to go to floridadisaster.org. And by all means, everybody, please stay safe.
So that's I think that's why people in Florida are taking heed. They're leaving those areas, and as Byron Donald said, they're moving west and south now. And while of course this is happening, we know Kamala's on her tour of very serious interviews, like with Stephen Colbert and oh, this is cute. Here's Kamala. Here's Kamala and Stephen Colbert. They're kicking back and having a beer.
One of the old saws is they just want somebody they can have a beer.
Oh, I just remember every time I put Stephen Colbert on my channel, they give me one of those red can't be monetized things. I'm going to leave this link out to you. I'm actually going to put a separate link for this BS over in the Kamala Harris section over here. Okay, so I've got a little section of Kamala Harris stuff where I'll be over there. But let's get to some of the articles regarding the hurricane in Florida. apparently there's a sheriff, and where's this sheriff? In South Carolina. He's exasperated because, we talked about how Kamala Harris announced the $750 that people are going to fly for. Now, let's remind y'all, Ranting Monkey, what's up, brother? How you doing? How people are complaining, Kamala Harris said that FEMA has this $750 you can apply for, and people, and a lot of people are comparing it to what they're giving to Lebanon and other places. And granted, this is how FEMA works. They have this $750 immediate assistance you can apply for, and then you can apply for more assistance later. And while it doesn't look good, that's how the procedure has been set up. And maybe it's bad, maybe it's whatever. But here's one of the problems, and this is an article that can kind of highlight what the problem with that is, even more than the optics of having Kamala Harris talk about giving $157 million to Lebanon while they're only giving $750 to people in these devastated areas. An exasperated South Carolina sheriff slammed the Biden-Harris administration's offer to Hurricane Helene survivors of $750 in immediate, quote, end quote, relief funds, arguing that it was nothing compared to what they gave Ukraine because it requires access to the internet, which residents in the worst hit areas still do not have. Now remember, I remember she's talking about, or the FEMA person talking about how, well, if you can use this app to apply for this assistance, or you can go online and apply for this assistance. And they had the truck there in some random place that people can't get to because there's no roads. It's just a logistical nightmare. We know that. So anyway, this sheriff says, well, let me just play it for you here. She's talking to Sarah Carter out here.
I was going to say something about Biden and Harris.
Yes, what were you going to say? Oh.
But I don't like to curse. I'm scared there'll be little ears listening.
Well, and you've been up here. You've been up here for how long?
Just 2 days.
2 days?
Sheriff hadn't left, and he's doing a fantastic job. So.
That's right. I mean, Sheriff, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for all you do. I'm going to definitely get this up on social media, and we're going live tonight with Sean Hannity. But if you had a message for the White House and how they've handled the situation up here in North Carolina, what would your message be, Sheriff Wright?
If you're going to do the things you've been talking about doing, we just assume you stay out of the way and let the good men and women around the mountain area and the foothills take care of our own, because you're nothing more than a boat anchor.
No help? FEMA hasn't been helpful?
Wait a minute. That lady that's running for president talks about the $750.
I don't know what he's eating, but no, it's
not.
All
that money you give to Ukraine and all these other people that really want to kill us, don't want to do anything to help us, why don't you just give that money to them? That's who you want to give it to begin with.
And a lot of people have been turned down for the $750. Almost everybody I've spoken to hasn't received any of the funding, and they've been turned.
Well, and frankly, how are they going to get the funding? I don't know if he's chewing or he's eating peanuts or something. What he's doing. I don't know what they're going to do with the funding right now. I guess, maybe they can buy groceries at stores that haven't been, washed away. But again, this is one of those things I was talking about yesterday. When you're in this mess, it's definitely going to look worse, and you're going to look for someone to blame. I'm cautious on this because, again, I remember how they treated George W. Bush during Katrina. I'm sure that the people of FEMA are trying to do their jobs and whatever. It's just weird though that and this is links in the story. But it's weird that how many people George Bush had in action almost immediately after Katrina. And you had this particular disaster, and the numbers don't match, and we're trying to figure out why. So anyway, I'm going to read it fast because it'll go faster because he talks kind of slow. Carter, who conducted the interview in Chimney Rock, North Carolina, without internet connection, and later uploaded to X, said a lot of people she talked to have been turned down for the $750. Wright responded, well, they talked about get on your phone and computer. Do you not see what devastation is? They don't have a phone or computer that's functioning. Carter noted there's nothing up here. There's no phone or communication. I'm going to be posting this later. There's no way to access the internet unless you have a Starlink net. Thank you, Elon Musk, Wright added, because Musk has been, or they found a way to distribute some of these Starlinks so people can communicate. As Breitbart News reported Monday, more than 255,000 customers across the Southeast were still without power. Wright said his message to the Biden-Harris White House is to stay away. If you're going to do things, if you're going to be doing things you're talking about doing, we just assume you stay out of the way and let the good men and women. Okay, we saw that part. And then to former President Trump, he said, "Come soon, President Donald Trump. We need you. We need you." So, so that's one. That's one. Now, also, we're going to talk. Ron DeSantis is also ripping Kamala Harris for playing political games with the response. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, excuse me, did I say Ron DeSantis? I said Ron DeSantis, didn't I? Florida Governor Ron DeSantis slammed Vice President Kamala Harris this week for trying to play political games with disaster response to Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. An NBC News reporter with a history of bias against DeSantis reported Monday afternoon that the governor was not taking calls from Harris because the calls appeared to be political in nature. Harris seized on this report, claiming to reporters that DeSantis was rejecting her calls because he was the one playing political games. In this quote, in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations. Okay, listen to this. This sounds like Kamala Harris, right? Listen to this sentence. In these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations. It's just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put people first. The governor noted during a subsequent press conference on Monday evening that he had no idea that she called. He never received a call from her, and the quote that he believed she was playing political games did not come from anyone in his office, which has been historically tight-lipped. I didn't know that she called. I'm not sure who they called, he said. They didn't call me, and their characterization of it was something that they did. It wasn't anything that anybody in my office did in terms of saying that it was political. During an interview Monday night, DeSantis said the notion that he was selfish for focusing on the state of Florida was delusional. Whoops. There we go. And this is it. Why is Kamala Harris trying to call him? Did they have cameras on and hoping that he would answer and talk to her while she, did they want a photo op of her conversing with Ron DeSantis? He added that she has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish is her trying to blunder into this. She has no role in the process. Right on, Mr. DeSantis. I've had storms under both President Trump and President Biden, and I worked well with both of them, he continued. She's the first one who's trying to politicize the storm, and she's doing that just because of her campaign. She's trying to get some type of edge. She knows she's doing poorly, and she's playing these political games. I don't have time for political games. I've got people whose lives are on the line. I've got people whose homes and their possessions are on the line, and we are focused 100% on that mission. Good for Ron DeSantis, I got to tell you. During a subsequent interview Tuesday morning, when asked about Harris's comments, he said what's happening right now is not about her. It's not about you, Kamala. It's about the people of Florida. Adding that Harris was the first person he's ever encountered who is trying to politicize a hurricane. She has never called on any of the storms we've had since she's been vice president until apparently now. Why all of a sudden is she trying to parachute in and eject herself when she's never shown any interest in the past? We know it's because of politics. We know it's because of her campaign. I have zero time to entertain these political games. So, anyone, can you give a good reason why Kamala Harris would be calling on this one, other than for politics? It's, he's 100% right. He's 100% right. And I've watched, if you're on X and you happen to ever, of course, or respond or ever interact with any of the lefty shill accounts, all of them were talking about how Ron DeSantis wouldn't take a call from Kamala Harris. Well, why the fuck would he take a call from Kamala Harris? What is she in charge of? What does she do? She's the vice president. You never talked to him before for about anything. So that's interesting. Also, just one other thing, and the Tampa mayor, we showed this yesterday, so I'm not going to read the whole article, but basically the Tampa mayor says, leave or die. If you do not leave, you will die. And so there's an article in the New York Post, why is Tampa the most vulnerable city as far as the storm surge goes? Tampa is the most vulnerable city in the U.S. for hurricane storm surges, thanks to a mix of fatal factors colliding to create catastrophic conditions should it take a direct hit from a major storm, like the incoming Hurricane Milton. About 50% of the more than 3 million people living around Tampa Bay reside at elevations of less than 10 feet above sea level. A 2015 study from the disaster consultants Karen Clark and Company found meaning millions of homes would be severely flooded if Milton's 15-foot storm surge comes to fruition. Tampa Bay was last hit by a major hurricane in 1921 when just a few hundred people lived in sparsely developed backwater towns, and the community was still devastated. Ocean waves broke in the middle of downtown Tampa, and swaths of infrastructure were washed away. The area is practically tailor-made to create a severe storm surge due to shallow depths in the bay, and surrounding Gulf Coast waves blown by heavy winds can pile up and create a deadly wall of water, MIT meteorology professor Carrie Emanuel told the Post. So, yeah, a town that's 10 feet above water and you're going to have a 15-foot storm surge, that can be a problem. Like, look at, if you look at this little development right here, that's not very far off the water. But you would think, if you go to Miami, for example, and you go to like Miami Beach, there's about it's about 10 to 15 feet buildup before it would cross over into the city, and also you have the little extra lagoons and bays through there. But Tampa looks like there's nothing between the water and the buildings, it seems like. So anyway. Wait, you missed 1 million calls from Kamala Harris. Yeah, that's funny. So anyway, that's another article that's in the links today. And finally, this is the last thing I'll talk about the hurricane because we'll move on. But again, if you live in Florida, particularly anywhere near the West Coast, and I'm talking within 20 miles of the West Coast and maybe more, go east, go north, fly out of town if you can. Get out of there. Just protect yourself. Now, also something interesting that Christian Toto, he has a site called Hollywood and Toto, has noticed. Celebrities don't seem to be interested in Hurricane Helene and or Milton. Now, I don't know how far beyond Katrina this telethon came, and so I'm not sure if this is necessarily accurate, but Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans, killing nearly 1,400 people and leaving thousands without power, homes, or both. Hollywood took less than a week. They took less than a week to officially respond to the 2005 crisis. Scores of musicians and Hollywood celebrities, according to far-left NPR, rallied to raise funds for those impacted by the natural disaster. A concert for hurricane relief may be the best remembered for Kanye West's race-based attack on then President George W. Bush. Hollywood's charitable efforts extended to the corporate level. In addition to the multiple telethons and fundraising events, media companies such as Walt Disney, DreamWorks, GE, News Corp, Revolution Studios, Sony, Time Warner, and Viacom are all matching employee contributions to charitable organizations such as the Red Cross. And that was after Katrina. Now, last month's Hurricane Helene similarly left death and destruction in its wake. The body count, while much lower than Katrina's legacy, keeps rising. Now, we don't know that the end may be way more for all we know, because whole towns were washed away. There's thousands of missing people. They say they're recovering thousands of bodies, but we'll find out over time. Good morning, number one. Talk of still missing people suggests it could grow far worse soon. Entire towns have essentially been wiped off the map. Social media has captured the depth and scale of the wreckage. It's worse than any disaster film. And let's see. So where is Hollywood this time? The hurricane hit on September 26th. It's now October 8th. We haven't seen a massive fundraising event or concert from Celebrity Nation. Now, a smattering of stars have finally entered the frame. It's mostly driven by country crooners. Country music superstars Luke Combs and Eric Church announced that they would be holding a benefit concert to help the communities that have been affected by Hurricane Helene. People magazine dubbed the response as a handful of music stars. Previously, Dolly Parton and Morgan Wallen wrote huge checks to aid those impacted by the crisis. Ed Helms is rallying resources on Instagram. Compare that to the musicians responding to Hurricane Katrina. Green Day, Beastie Boys, Pearl Jam, Harry Connick Jr., Wynton Marsalis, Aaron Neville, Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, Bono, Mary J. Blige, Kelly Clarkson, Dr. John, Neil Young, Foo Fighters, Mariah Carey, Paul Simon, Garth Brooks, Diddy, Jay-Z, Patti LaBelle, Mary J. Blige, Alicia Keys, Erykah Badu, and Queen Latifah. Now, again, maybe because those people have been in New Orleans. All of those people probably have had, monster concerts in New Orleans because, New Orleans is a party town, right? That's a partial list. Some of the big-name actors who lent a hand during Hurricane Katrina: Sean Penn, Brad Pitt, John Travolta, Morgan Freeman, Jamie Foxx, Oprah Winfrey, Matthew McConaughey, Richard Gere, Mike Myers, Claire Danes, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Chris Rock. Again, that's a partial list. Now, why the massive disparity in celebrity response? Well, two reasons jump to mind. One, corporate media is trying to downplay the hurricane's aftermath. Journalists not only covered the devastation following Katrina for nearly 20 years ago, but they savaged President Bush and then Undersecretary for Homeland Security Michael Brown for the response. Again, because the media was all over George Bush, but they ain't saying shit about Biden. They're protecting Biden. Oh, all of this is misinformation. This blah blah blah. Okay, but look, the media is not giving Biden the Bush treatment, except for maybe Fox News and some of the alternative media. And because, it's red versus blue, so the blue media is they're not gonna say anything bad about Kamala Harris. They're not gonna say anything bad about Joe Biden, who Kamala Harris is tied to, in an election year. That's for damn sure. They're not gonna make Kamala Harris look bad. And in fact, and he continues here, Brown later wrote a book giving his side of the story. Bush's presidency never fully recovered. Today's journalists, de facto cheerleaders for the Biden-Harris administration, refuse to hold them accountable for their reaction. And that's what I just said. Or lack thereof. President Joe Biden rested on a beach during the dawn of the hurricane. Vice President Kamala Harris passed the hat at a swanky celebrity fundraiser at roughly the same time, the same day as the hurricane. Now, I don't even think George Bush was that callous, knowing that hurricane was coming in and going to hit New Orleans. I think George Bush was ready. Vice President Harris offered a meager $750 per hurricane survivor, roughly at the same time her administration sent an additional $157 million to Lebanon. Now, again, those are two things are completely separate. The allocation for Lebanon was already in place. The 750 is already the procedure of FEMA. But that, from an optic standpoint, especially when she made a public announcement about the Lebanon aid right after the hurricane, right after she made the big announcement about the $750. That's not, I don't know what rocket scientist in the Harris campaign thought that would be a good idea, but she done did it. That was crazy. Now, continuing on this article, celebrities who by and large read corporate media over new media may not be fully aware of the hurricane's devastation. The other reason is more sinister. Any outsized hurricane relief could draw attention to the feckless Biden-Harris response. We've already seen Homeland Security, wow, they put security twice. They need some editors. We've already seen Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas say FEMA is out of money, while illegal immigrants continue to be fed, housed, and cared for in massive numbers. President Biden's tone-deaf response included him saying stricken residents were very happy across the board. Could you imagine if George Bush would have said that during Katrina? Oh yeah, the stricken residents are very happy across the board. He was already getting savage with the government's response to the crisis. That's after he figured out which storm he was addressing. Oh no. Listen to this.
What do the states in the storm zone need, Mr. President? Okay. What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone?
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about.
Oh my God.
Everything they need. They're very happy across the board.
Okay, imagine if President Bush had said something similar. Today's media yawned over Biden's latest gaffe. Or was it a cheap fake? Now, Vice President Harris sent out staged photo ops to show she cares, including a personal appearance of her stuffing bags of hurricane relief supplies. Yes, remember this one? Two national tragedies, two dramatically different responses from Hollywood just weeks before a presidential election. Now, there's an editor's note here also. It's a brutal time to... Okay, that's if you want to donate to Hollywood and Toto. So there you go. That's the section on Florida and the hurricane. Let's move on to some other things that are trending, and we talked a lot about this yesterday also. Kamala's fluff tour. Now the inappropriately titled name of this show is referencing the fluffy interviews that Kamala Harris is going on. So 60 Minutes is trending. Howard Stern is trending. The View is trending. And as much as I loathe to put any clips from any of these things on, it's causing a little bit of a stir, at least among people actually watching these interviews. Now, some people, if you go to MSNBC and watch how they edit down the videos that of the things that she is saying, you'll understand that they are doing anything they can to make her look better. But now granted, this is Breitbart, but illiterate Harris mocked his dumbest candidate after 60 Minutes train wreck interview. Political pundits mercilessly mocked Vice President Kamala Harris' performance during a 60-minute interview Monday after she delivered false, incoherent, and rambling statements. The interview represented one of the first times she sat down for a serious, unscripted interview since joining the race, with a host that asked honest questions. Harris has not sat for many local interviews in battleground states, and she has mostly avoided the national press and conducted 0 press conferences. I didn't realize it was 0 press conferences. That's amazing. During the 60-minute interview, Harris was asked how she would pay for increased spending. She responded by arguing billionaires will pay for it all. Billy Binion, a reporter for Reason, slammed her answer as economically illiterate, and Tim Young ripped her as the dumbest candidate ever. So let's see what Billy Bunyan's video is here. Link will be on X. So I think we saw this one yesterday. I wonder if I'll probably get flagged for this one too.
My plan is about saying that when you invest in small businesses, you invest in the middle class, and you strengthen America's economy. Small businesses are part of the backbone of America's economy.
But pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things...
See your eyes there. It's just like, oh my God, it's supposed to ask you a tough follow-up question, and I'm not sure where I'm going to go with this.
I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share.
How do you know they can afford it? Do you mean, what if they have to close their businesses? You know what I'm saying? Businesses. But he has a good follow-up question here.
Taxes. It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate.
Oh, she's saying
than
a rate.
Billionaires.
Oh, she means effective rate. You know, you guys write the tax laws. I hate when they complain about this. You motherfuckers who write the tax laws and vote on the tax laws complain about the tax laws that they put in place. And again, your biggest donors probably like that. Hi, Jen T. What's up? Nice to have you around. But he asked a follow-up question and she don't know how to answer. Hello, Maddie. What's up?
The biggest corporations. I plan on making that fair.
But we're dealing with the real world.
I love that. We're dealing with the real world.
Real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
She don't know.
You know, when you talk quietly with a lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about because their constituents know exactly what I'm talking
quietly.
about.
How are they going to get it passed? Why don't you talk loudly about how you're going to get this passed?
Constituents are those firefighters and teachers and nurses.
Right, Tyre. If you want everyone to pay the same rate, do a flat tax on all income with no deductions. There's no deductions for anything. Just let the world work on its own. Lower the tax rate, no deductions, flat tax on all income, except maybe... Except for inheritance, because that's not income. That's someone already been taxed on that shit. But no mortgage deduction, no deduction for, your first time pet and grandma's, dentures. Just lower the tax rate, make everyone pay a flat tax. You don't have to pay, you pay zero up until, 1.5 times the poverty level. So no one pay under, say whatever that is. Let's say it's $34,000. Your first $34,000 is tax-free. And then after that, everyone pays 4.5% income tax with no deductions on anything. Then everyone will pay the same exact effective rate because there will be, except for the only people who pay a lower effective rate are people who make less than $34,000 under that plan. They won't pay anything, but everything above that amount. And then you can do your taxes on a fucking postcard for the most part, unless you're, a business owner and whatever, and you have to pay yourself and this and that. And people can still get around it a little bit. If you're a business owner, you just pay yourself less or whatever. But if you have other income, investment income, all of it, all the income, if you have a net positive income, you will pay the same percent no matter what it is. And then you don't even need a giant IRS. Fuck the IRS. So anyway, that's the Breitbart article. Let me go back. I don't know why I did that. So but anyway, back to this article. And then Tim Young, Kamala is finally asked by a reporter how she'll pay for her handouts. The question is, how are you going to pay for it? Her answer, word salad, dumbest candidate ever. Anyway, Harris was asked how she plans. Okay. Also, she was asked how she plans to stop the border invasion. Harris claimed Congress needs to fix the problem, triggering a Breitbart News fact check. Clay Travis, Outkick founder, slammed Harris for responding with a nonsense answer. Again, we saw this. I think we showed this yesterday. But, her trying to blame the immigration crisis on Trump in the View interview. Here, let's play this because this is the dumbest thing.
I've been covering the border for years, and so I know this is not a problem that started with your administration.
Correct. Now, she was so excited about him saying that because that's why a point she wants to blame it on Trump. This started before we even got here. But you exacerbated the problem.
But there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump.
Don't look happy about it.
Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies?
Now, she didn't want to answer this
as
question.
much as you did.
It's a long...
The answer is yes. It was a mistake, and yes. And if she, she keeps trying to distance herself from the Biden administration. This was not her decision. This was Joe Biden's decision. And yes, I think it was a mistake, and maybe we should have done something else, or we could have done this better, we could have done that better. No, she's just going to say, no, it wasn't a mistake. No, that is some pause magic right there. Sorry, that image is unnecessary. I'm sure that, never mind. I was going to say something about, well, let's just say there is a person in her past who probably saw a lot of that. Anyway, because it's, well, I'm not going to go into Doug, am I?
Sees as much as you did.
It's a long-standing problem.
Okay.
And solutions are
But you exacerbated it.
Hand, and from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
Okay, this is a lie too. This is a complete and utter lie. She's saying that they put a bill in. They wrote a bill when they first got in office. No, they didn't. They had an amnesty bill after they reversed a bunch of the Trump's executive orders that was, that slowed the trickle. Slowed the immigration to a trickle. They reversed all of those Trump policies, and there was the flood, as Bill here mentioned, started happening, and it got up to way beyond record levels for 3 years. And the so-called bill that they proposed was basically giving illegal immigrants amnesty and turning them into U.S. citizens. Now, the Republicans, and I think, was it 2021, maybe, or the first, it was the second bill, H.R. 2 was 2022, proposed, basically wanted to formalize Donald Trump's solution, at least as far as the border goes. And it never got voted on in the Senate. That was the toughest immigration bill. They keep saying the bill that this recent one by the Senate was the toughest. No, H.R. 2 was the toughest immigration bill. And they wouldn't even take it up in the Senate, and the White House had no interest in signing it anyway. So she's just telling a complete falsehood here. But anyway.
What I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay?
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the numbers today, because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half.
Now, so let me get this straight, Vice President Harris. The flow of immigration quadrupled, and you have cut it by half. So now it's only twice as much. That's what she said, isn't it? That's exactly what she said. Because the flow quadrupled, and they cut it in half. So you caused the problem to be worse, and then you're taking credit for lowering it to levels still above what it was. This argument sounds familiar, because I see a lot of people right now talking about how the price of gas has gone down. Now, let's forget that price of gas goes down seasonally every year at this time, because post Labor Day, the demand slows greatly because of summer driving, and eventually you're going to see another slight dip because most of the refiners move to what's known as a winter blend, which is cheaper to produce and it lowers the price of gas. But let's just take that example too. Well, during the Biden administration, the price of gas skyrocketed after Trump left office. And now it's gone down to still almost twice what it was when Trump left office. Inflation. Oh my, inflation was at 1.2% when Trump left office and went up to almost 10% under the Biden-Harris administration. But oh my gosh, they've got inflation back down to 3%. So it just seems to be a theme of this entire administration. Well, we kind of fucked things up exponentially, but at least we brought it down a little bit from our own highs. It's just the theme of the whole damn administration. We fucked things up, but we at least got them down from our worst. They're still worse than when that guy with the funny hair was in office. Oh wait, I wasn't supposed to say that. Oh, sorry. So anyway, we're gonna move on beyond that interview. Let's see. Oh, by the way, 60 Minutes tried to give Kamala Harris an assist too. They cut one of her answers, which was complete word salad about Israel. So 60 Minutes released a few clips of its interview with Vice President Kamala Harris before the program aired. And they posted a portion of Harris talking about Israel, Iran, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Well, then 60 Minutes edited out the word salad she presented when Bill Whitaker said, but it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening. So what else did the program edit? That's the other part of 60 Minutes and why Trump should never do a 60 Minutes interview. Because they'll do an interview where they're interviewing the person for, a couple hours. They'll edit it down into the parts they want you to see, but they will deceptively edit it. Now, let's watch this. You may have already seen this, but here it is. Because they posted her original answer online. So when the program aired, it sounded different. Here we go. Oh, let's get this full screen here. All right, here we go. Here it is.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill,
this is the original answer.
The work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems...
Does anyone know what her answer was there? Now, here's the answer that they aired on 60 Minutes.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not
The question
listening.
is the same.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Now, I got to tell you, they did make her answer more succinct by using an answer from a different part of the interview or from a different question. But was that edited answer really any better? We're going to listen to him again. So here's the first one.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
It's like she's doing a full sentence of just connector sentences. Like, normally you'd be like, well, I'm going to the left and the right, but back to the center of the plateau on the hill that I was coming around the mountain when it happened. That's what the answer sounds like to me. I don't know how she does this, but that was the first answer. Now listen to the second answer. Is the second answer that they edited into this any better? Does it say anything?
Region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this.
We're not
going to stop pursuing what is necessary for.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary
the United States to be clear about,
for the United States to be
about
clear
where we stand on the need.
To be clear what we stand. We're not going to stop doing what is necessary for the United States to be clear on
Need for this war.
For this need of this war. What are you talking about? What does that mean?
And
but
I don't. It's insane. But yeah, CBS tried to give her some help there, even though the answer that they ended up with wasn't any better. Oh, by the way, she mentioned that she owns a Glock, and because they were asking her about being a gun owner. Apparently, at one point, she wanted to ban the gun that she now claims to own. This is special. Vice President Kamala Harris in recent weeks claimed to be a proud gun owner who is not afraid to exercise her Second Amendment right to self-defense, although she wouldn't be allowed to do that in California. The Democratic radical gun control track record, especially during her tenure in California politics, however, shows she tried to ban the type of firearm that she claims to own. What kind of gun do you own?
A hard left turn here, but you recently surprised people when you said that you are a gun owner. And then if someone came into your house...
That was not the first time I've talked about it. That's not the first time I've talked about it.
Why is she so happy to answer that way? She's like about to do one of those stupid laughs.
So what kind of gun do you own, and when and why did you get it?
I have a Glock, and I've had it for quite some time. And, I mean, look, Bill...
Before I move on, so... when someone asks you, when someone asks you, what kind of gun do you own? And you answer, I have a Glock. Does that sound like an answer a gun owner would give you? Let's say someone asks me, what kind of a gun do I own? And I only own one gun. It's a 1873 Springfield trapdoor 4570. It's a very specific gun. But her answer, I own a Glock. A Glock what? A Glock pistol? A Glock, a Glock lighter. I mean, it's like, okay, you know what? Do you drive? Yeah. What kind of car do you drive? I drive a Ford. No, but what kind of a Ford? Well, I drive a Ford, and I drive it on freeways occasionally. I mean, that's the kind of answer she gave. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Oh, my gosh. So anyway, contrary to what the Harris campaign's social media post suggests, Glock is not a type of firearm, but the name of a popular handgun manufacturing company. Not only should the G in Glock be capitalized to reflect is a proper noun, because her campaign, this is her post. She wrote it in lowercase letters. It's a brand. Glock is a brand, you morons. Not only should the G in Glock be capitalized to reflect it as a proper noun, but Harris should have elaborated further what type of specific Glock she claims to own by naming the model and caliber. She did not, and Whitaker put himself in the camp of corporate media mouthpieces who have no business reporting about guns because they know absolutely nothing about them, by failing to press her on her further on her vague answer. Now, instead, the vice president asserted that she had the firearm for quite some time because my background is in law enforcement. Ooh, you were an appointed city attorney and then attorney general. That's okay. Your background is in law enforcement. You're a lawyer, okay? And then he wondered if she ever fired a weapon. She said, yes, of course. And through the laughs at a shooting range. Yes, of course I have. So anyway, Harris, no, it's funny because it's Harris's CBS sit down may not have gotten giving Americans much more clarity on the firearm she purports to possess, but it did reveal her stunning hypocrisy on gun ownership. Harris may have spent a majority of the last decade in various condos and houses in Washington, D.C., but she and the second gentleman still own and routinely visit their California mansion. If Harris acquired her Glock years ago, as she suggested on her 60 Minutes interview, it would have come off of California's pre-approved list of safe handguns. Harris's quip about having a background in law enforcement, however, could mean she purchased her pistol under the off-roster exemptions offered exclusively to authorized peace officer bureaucrats, which include the district attorney and Department of Justice offices where she spent years. Every Glock pistol is equipped with a trigger, firing pin, and drop safety combination designed to prevent accidental firing. Yet, under California law, most Glock models are considered unsafe handguns because they do not meet the state's stringent safety or firing requirements. According to the handgun sale roster maintained by Attorney General Rob Bonta, the only Glock guns permitted for sale in the Golden State come from the manufacturer's Generation 3 line, which started in 1998 and was grandfathered into the roster. That sale roster became even more exclusive when Harris, as California Attorney General, attempted to enforce experimental microstamping of firing pins as a requirement for any sellable guns. No new semi-automatic handguns entered the roster after 2013. Kamala Harris's action meant the overwhelming majority of Californians who were not exempted from the law could not purchase popular handguns models released after 2013, such as all Gen 4 and Gen 5 Glocks, the Sig Sauer P365, Smith & Wesson's M&P 2.0 models, and many, many more. Costas Moros, an attorney representing the California Rifle and Pistol Association, recently wrote, "The 2023 court ruling and stay from the Ninth Circuit allowed the addition of several new handgun models to the roster, yet thanks to actions by the Democratic-controlled California legislature, microstamping will return if the current Attorney General confirms by 2028 something that Kamala Harris falsely claimed was already the case in 2013 when she implemented the handgun ban." So long story short, she tried to, for all practical purposes, ban Glock handguns. Fascinating. Just fascinating. All right. I'm not getting as far as I wanted to, but so Kamala's other interviews, one with Howard Stern, and Howard Stern was very mad about Saturday Night Live making fun of Kamala Harris. Shock jock Howard Stern told Kamala Harris that he hates seeing her being mocked on Saturday Night Live during a vice president's appearance on his radio show Tuesday. "I hate it. I don't want you being made fun of," Stern told the Democratic presidential candidate. "There's too much at stake. I believe the entire future of this country right now. It's literally on the line." But Harris, 59, says she gets a laugh out of actor Maya Rudolph's impersonation of her, including on last week's episode. "It was funny," she said. "I'm a huge fan of Maya Rudolph, so I think she put a lot of time into doing the piece and the character." Rudolph reprised her role as Harris this season after first playing the former California Attorney General during the 2020 election run-up. By the way, the skits on Saturday Night Live that finally use subject matter that's not Donald Trump have slightly humorous effects to them. They're actually somewhat humorous. It's still Saturday Night Live, so it basically sucks. But he was upset that, oh my God, they're making fun of Kamala Harris. Now, has anyone ever complained about Saturday Night Live making fun of politicians? I'm just like, I mean, granted, Alec Baldwin sucks as Donald Trump. There was actually a who was it that did a really good Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live? And same with Barack Obama. Like, there was one guy who did a great Obama, but they wouldn't ever make fun of Obama, so he didn't get to do the impression very much. Anyway, let's see. I'm gonna just move on because I got to be done here. So let me go through some of the other things I bookmarked. Thousands of Americans lost their homes and possessions in North Carolina. Thousands more just boarded their homes and fled for their lives in Florida. What is Kamala doing? Kicking back and relaxing with a beer with Stephen Colbert. Again, that's a clip I'm not going to play, but she gets her cackle on. Also, she showed up on The View, and I can't do it. I think I have a link in here on The View. Now, someone says, how glorious is it that The View of all shows killed Kamala Harris's candidacy? What is this? What happened here? Okay, I'm going to put a clip.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Well,
my name is Donald Trump, and I approve this message. So she's been doing all this stuff about trying to distance herself from the Biden administration, not, and again, I changed the name of my handle on Twitter, burden her by what has been. She just said that she couldn't think of anything that she would change that the Biden-Harris administration has done, not off the top of her head. She couldn't think of one thing. Oh my, oh my. And in fact, and guess what clip Donald Trump posted on X, the app formerly known as Twitter? Lying Kamala Harris, who's being exposed as a dummy every time she does a show, just stated to the degenerates on The View that she would have done nothing different than crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States. The lamestream media doesn't want to pick up the story. The dumb women on the show wish they'd never asked her the question that led to that election-defying answer. But the internet is going wild. For starters, the border disaster with murderers and everyone else being allowed to invade their country, worst inflation in history, the Ukraine disaster, October 7th with Israel, loss of energy independence, the Afghanistan debacle, loss of respect, all over the globe, and much more. The dumbest answer so far. So Donald Trump ripped her to shreds for that. And in fact, I think that's pretty much... Kamala View said on the first day in office they proposed a bill to fix the broken border policies. No, the Dems. Oh, by the way, she said that to Bill Whitaker, we just mentioned this, that the first day in office they proposed a bill to fix the border. Really? Okay. Let's say that you did that. For the first 2 years you were in office, Democrats controlled the House and the Senate. How did you not pass that bill that you supposedly have proposed? Huh? Just wondering. And Scott Jennings, the people the left loves to hate on This Is CNN, also talking about the fact that she wouldn't change a thing that Biden has done.
I mean, she is running on the slogan of a new way forward.
A new way forward.
And she said today, we're going to stay on the same path, which is, I think everyone would admit, not a popular path. I mean, Biden has put some handcuffs on her. I mean, he has gone out last week and said, she helped me pass every law. She was part of every decision. I mean, he's making it difficult for her to get any separation. And then she has also, in the last few days, said Biden is totally with it, totally vouched for his mental acuity, and today says, yeah, I can't really think of anything that I would have done differently. This must be very confusing for American voters who must be thinking, then why are you running? Why isn't he running? If he's up to it and you wouldn't change anything, then why is Joe Biden not in this race right now? I thought, but who goes on The View and gets outsmarted, by the way? I mean, this was a total disaster for her today. I think even some of the friendly, non-traditional interviews have not turned out that well, but her contact with the mainstream media, I mean, the 60 Minutes interview, on issue after issue, I think did not really help her.
Did you see it? I can't remember her name, Ashley. I can't remember this woman's name. Did you see her shake her head about the 60? Like, what? The 60 interviews? The 60 Minutes interview, if you're not a partisan, if you're just someone trying to figure out whether or not you should vote for this woman, you would be like, what the hell is she talking about? But oh no, if you're a partisan, it was glorious.
Campaign, the immigration answers did not help her campaign, denying answering the question 3 times about whether they made the right decisions on the immigration changes that let the flood of people into the country. So I think the reason they're shying away from it is because often her rhetoric doesn't survive contact with the mainstream media.
Okay, so then he was about to get cut off, so he put his own clip up there because he knows he knows that CNN's not going to put clips of him up there, so he puts his own up. Escape here. All right, let me see if there's a couple things I wanted to touch on before I left. We already did that one. Oh, by the way, you're going to be hearing about Bob Woodward's new book. Bob Woodward has a book out. Now, Bob Woodward. He has a book out where there's a lot of claims. A lot of claims, but one particular one where he says that Donald Trump gave COVID testing kits to Putin, to Russia, during COVID, and a lot of people are talking about this. In fact, let's see, where is it? Let's see. Bob, by the way, he is kind of a hack. Here it is. Here it is. Trump gave Putin COVID test machines for personal use early in the pandemic, a new Bob Woodward book reveals, according to CBS News. Now, Trump 2024 campaign communication director Stephen Chung blasted Woodward's claims, saying in a statement, none of these made-up stories by Bob Woodward are true and are the work of a truly demented and deranged man. Chung said Trump gave Woodward absolutely no access for the book and said it belongs in the bargain bin in the fictional section. Bob Woodward has severe TDS. He used an unidentified aide as the source. Here's the thing about Bob Woodward. We the other day the theme was October Surprise. And Bob Woodward's in the business selling books. And now it's not the only claim in the book. It's not all about Donald Trump, by the way. For example, what was the other one they said? Biden, in his book, Biden blames Obama, not Trump, for Putin's invasion of Ukraine. He told Bob Woodward that Obama never took Putin seriously, refusing to arm Ukraine. Ironically, Trump was the first U.S. president to send weapons to Ukraine to deter Russia. When Putin decided to continue the invasion after Biden won the presidency, he immediately blamed Obama. The revelations were revealed in Bob Woodward's new book called War, which is fascinating. So it's not all bad for Trump, but, it's a Bob Woodward book, so it's definitely going to be talking about Trump. Hello, Anna Lynn. She can't answer a question or make a statement. True. But the only thing I wanted to pull out of this thread, though, the Bob Woodward thread, is Boris Johnson kind of giving Jake Tapper the business. So Jake Tapper's being ridiculed by world leaders. He's a gossip, not a journalist. A real journalist would ask himself, how in the world would Bob Woodward even know this? Before simply repeating anonymous sources, the public knows Jake is a Democrat activist. So here's Jake Tapper, and I'm going to finish with this one because this is interesting. Jake Tapper, Boris Johnson interview. Here it is. This was a little section of it. And ask yourself, how would Bob Woodward know the things he's asking? What sources would have told him these things? Here it is. Maybe. If my computer doesn't freeze.
Joe Biden and, the job of the UK PM is to, the Prime Minister is to have good relations with all American presidents. All I can say is I think that in the normal stresses and strains of alliance and friendships between the UK and Israel, the US and Israel, you'd expect people occasionally to use intemperate language, but I don't think that really undermines the strength of our commitment.
CNN is also reporting that in Woodward's book, according to a Trump aide, there have been multiple phone calls between former President Trump and Vladimir Putin, maybe as many as 7 since Trump left the White House in 2021. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I don't know if that's true, and I'm certainly not privy to the contents of those sorts of conversations. what I can tell our viewers is that when I had dealings with President Trump over Russia, like when the Russians poisoned people in the UK, it was actually the Trump administration that really, they exceeded expectations. They expelled 60 Russian spies. It was the Trump administration that actually gave Ukrainians lethal weaponry, the Javelin missiles, to use against Putin's troops. So, people take their pick about this. I'd be interested to know what those conversations contained, if indeed they took place.
Okay, so interesting hearing a foreign leader, talk about Trump that way. That, because they always say, "Oh, Trump's a Putin puppet." Well, Boris Johnson seems to think that Trump is the one country that actually took major action against Russia when they were poisoning people in Great Britain. All right, now I have multiple articles and multiple links that I've not even come close to getting to. A few headlines, though. The Colorado Supreme Court dismissed a lawfare case against the Christian cake baker. So these activists have been going over this bakery that he refused to do a same-sex wedding cake. The Supreme Court the case eventually went to the Supreme Court, and they said, you know what, that's freedom of expression. That's free. You don't have to go against your religion to have a business. So then they came back with another one where they wanted to do a gender transition cake, and he refused to do it. And they keep filing lawsuits against this cake baker. Well, for 12 years, Jack Phillips has been the victim of relentless lawfare from an antagonistic radical leftist who wanted to force him to abandon his religious values. But on Tuesday, the state Supreme Court, dismissed the third lawfare suit against him. So it was another one, Cake Shop versus Sardina, whether Phillips should be forced against his sincerely held religious conviction to design a cake for a mentally ill man, Autumn Sardina, who believes he is a woman. So again, a transition cake, and he refused to do it. And he said, and the Supreme Court of Colorado has sided with him for the third time. In Breitbart, Josh Hawley says there's a whistleblower who claims the Secret Service is blocking auditors from accessing Trump events. They're, ever since the first Butler rally when he got shot at, apparently there have been people in the House and Senate who've been trying to get information from the Secret Service and drop some auditors in there, and they're preventing the government auditors from accessing some of these events. So auditing the procedures that they're using to protect the former president. And Josh Hawley has written a letter to the director of the Secret Service about this, complaining why they haven't gotten it. Thank you, Damian Gershwin, by the way. How you doing? Who said, dropping a deuce in Super Chats, says, if I get Bob's without fully transing, what size is best? Let's just hold off on that until you're ready to do the full transition. I'm just saying. I'm not going to answer that. Okay. What happened there? God damn it. There we go. Perhaps an A cup, because, don't get them too big unless you're really committed, because they're harder to remove. 4 illegal aliens arrested for attacking and robbing a woman in her Dallas home. 4 Venezuelan men allegedly threatened to cut off the woman's fingers if she didn't tell them where to find the valuables. Now, some of the activists in the area of Dallas have been complaining about this story getting out because of who told it. I believe it was one of the politicians down there was telling the story, and they're saying, you're making the illegal aliens look bad, like bad people. Well, then they found the illegal aliens and arrested them, and so too fucking bad. In the inhuman events, Brazil has lifted its ban on X, the app formerly known as Twitter. Brazilian top court Chief Justice Alexandre de Moraes lifted his ban on Elon Musk's X platform on Tuesday. The decision came after Musk bowed to the demands of the minister of the Supreme Court to take down certain user accounts, pay outstanding fines, and appoint a legal representative for X in the country, per Bloomberg. So they've removed the suspension. Now, I don't know if he's fully acquiesced to everything they asked him to do, but you can read the article to find out more. PJ Media, Bob Woodward's 15 minutes of fame may have lasted 52 years, but it's beyond tedious. Yeah, I don't, because of the All the President's Men Watergate stuff that Woodward and Bernstein broke, they've been held as these super journalists, and Bob Woodward is a fucking Democrat hack. And so this kind of highlights why he's such a tedious person. In Breitbart, Justice Alito wrecks ATF's ghost gun argument, are eggs and peppers an omelet. Justice Alito wrecked the government's defense of ATF ghost gun rule during oral arguments Tuesday by asking if eggs and pepper are an omelet. Basically, they're talking about components, and if you buy components to make your own personal weapons, I think this will come up in the case against the guy in New York who got arrested for his hobby of assembling guns, and they're putting him in Rikers for it. It'll be interesting to see if they how that case goes. But if you want to follow it, it's in Breitbart. Also in Breitbart, Elon Musk says that Bill Gates and Reid Hoffman are terrified of a Trump victory because the Epstein client list is going to become public. Oh, shit! So that was in an interview with Tucker Carlson, which I believe the entire interview is...
He loses,
yes,
man. What?
The entire interview is in this X post. So if you want to see Elon Musk and Tucker Carlson chat it up, there you go. Anyone GOP don't agree with equal fake or hack. Well, no, Jod, and welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. I enjoy when people who don't agree with me are here. No, I don't think that Woodward's a hack because he's against the GOP. He is bad with a lot of stories. He gets a lot of, he's one of these people nowadays. Now, when he was back in the 80s, okay, Woodward still had some credibility, but he is the king of sources say, okay? And when I say that, and I mean quote unquote, and I don't like any journalist who do sources say. I don't like when Hannity does it. I don't like it when, I don't like it when Tucker does it, unless he has a source that he can name. Sources say is just saying, well, I don't know if I made this shit up or not. And so more often than not, when those things turn out to be true and you go back and look and it's just sources say, all right? And Bob Woodward is the king of sources say. Well, an unnamed aide. Really? I don't know about that. So no, not anyone that I don't agree with is fake or hack. There's some really good left-wing journalists that do they do God's work. Let's just put it that way. But so yeah, I don't know. I don't think if you think the Epstein's list is ever going to come out, put a 1 in the chat. If you think it's not, there's no chance in hell of it ever coming out, put a 0 in the chat. Now, Diddy's list is coming out. There's people there are people shopping around some of the videotapes. They've gotten some of the videotapes from Diddy. So his list is going to get out, and it's going to hurt Hollywood really bad. In fact, I think I have an article about that open too. Legal insurrection. Harris' husband, Doug Emhoff, accused of being a misogynist at law firm. This is, look, I am not convinced of all these stories about Doug Emhoff either. Although the one I believe was verified that, it's verified that he got his nanny pregnant. That's certainly well known. And the story about him slapping one of his ex-girlfriends, you know what? Don't know about that one. I read that and I go, well, that's a sources say. The one about his getting his nanny pregnant, that's been confirmed. So, but here, apparently attorneys who worked with Emhoff at the Los Angeles firm Venable described him as a misogynist and hired trophy secretaries. Attorneys who worked with Doug Emhoff and his former firm Venable said he yelled expletives, held men-only cocktail hour in the office, revoked work perks for women who didn't flirt with him, and took only young, attractive associates in a limousine to a ball. this 2019 lawsuit. This is from a lawsuit in 2019, by the way. A 2019 lawsuit also claimed sex discrimination by other partners at the LA office Emhoff ran, and that while engaged to Harris, he hired an unqualified part-time model as a legal secretary because she was young, attractive, and friendly with the powerful men in the office. Oh, we don't need to hear that story. That would be bad for Harris. And that's a Daily Mail story, so always take Daily Mail stories with a grain of salt. But they did dig up the lawsuit, so it's not like it's not sources say, it's in the court filing. So what are you going to do? Breitbart Teamsters Union president tell comedian Theo Von that Democrats have fucked us over for the last 40 years. It's interesting because the Teamsters rank and file, of which I am a part of, are 60-40 Trump to Harris. It's interesting seeing unions rank and file that way. Because I'll tell you what, our leadership, 100% Democrats. I just got a flyer yesterday in my mailbox for Angie Craig from the local UPS chapter. It's my congresswoman anymore. I want her gone. But the union leadership is still gung-ho Democrat. Trump's chances of winning the Daily Caller, Trump's chances of winning Electoral College continue to increase as Blue Wall State poll swings in his favor. What's happening is a lot of these swing states seem to be trending Trump. Until there's an election, that's the only poll that matters in my mind, but we'll see. Hey, Joe Tech, are you still here? Just say yes or no. Well, you can't say no if you're not here. Are you still here, Joe Tech? I'm just curious. Usually people I'm hoping that you're not one of these cowards who drop a comment and then run away. But maybe you are. Who knows? But if you're not, that's actually very cool if you're still here. Watching 3, yeah, we already got the not a thing comes to mind of what Harris would have done differently. All right, I got to go. There's several articles, the links. I'm going to go ahead and drop these in the chat now, because I got to go. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me today on the Morning Night Live. I'm here Monday through Friday around this 10 o'clock time Eastern, although it seems to be it gets closer to 10 o'clock Central every day. But do me a favor. Anytime you see me post my show on X, the preview, whatever, you got to reply, let's go. Okay? Reply, let's go. If you don't follow me on X, do now. But I want that to be the new thing with my show when I post it. There's 2 reasons. One, that is engagement on X, which I kind of need a little more of anyway. And also, I think more people see it when you write something, let's go, rather than just retweeting something. And that may help. So I'm going to encourage a lot of my followers to do that. Here are today's links. And that's it. All right, that's it. I got to go. Thanks, guys. My name is P-Dog Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Hey, this is P-Dog Knight, and thank you for watching today on the P-Dog Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm P-Dog Knight, and I'm out of here.